Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, and namaste to our guest speakers and to all the people joining us live from different parts of the world. I am Akshay Bajaj, and on behalf of Sivom, I welcome you for an all new session on the topic of transforming libraries, innovation, technologies, and the future of knowledge access. This session is an extension as well as a homage to the occasion of National Librarian Day that's celebrated annually on 12th of August to honor the birth anniversary of Dr. Shaili Ramamrita Ranganathan, also known as the father of library science in India. Ranganathan was a university librarian and made significant contributions to the field of library and information science. So today we are going to have a pretty amazing discussion coming up on super interesting themes like the transformation of libraries in the digital age, the role of innovative design, and the importance of technology in enhancing knowledge access. So let's start with a quick intro of our guest speakers. On first, we have Dr. Sanjay Kataria. Dr. Sanjay Kataria is a professor and university librarian at Bennett University with a distinguished 25-year career in library and information science. Holding a PhD and a recent leadership program completion from Harvard, he boasts numerous awards and recognitions. Dr. Kataria has conceptualized a successful international library symposium and actively shares his expertise through talks and publications. He has also established several modern libraries from scratch. Welcome to this session, Sanjay sir. It's an honor to
Thank you
have
very
you
much.
joining us live. On second, we have Dr. Bijayalaxmi Rautaray. Dr. Bijayalaxmi Rautaray is currently working as the Director of the Library and Department of Library and Information Science at KIIT deemed to be University in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. She holds an MA in Economics, Masters of Library Science, and PGD-LAN degrees, and she has a PhD in Library and Information Science. She has more than 25 years of experience in the LIS profession. She has authored or edited 7 books and 1 conference proceedings. She has also published 13 research articles in different international and national journals of repute, 11 conference proceedings articles, and 9 book chapters too. She is also recognized as an international peer reviewer of many journals. Her areas of interest are library administration, management and planning, space management of libraries, development and management of digital libraries, cooperative acquisition, collection of building of e-resources, etc. We are delighted to have Dr. Bijay Lakshmi with us for this session. Welcome to this session, ma'am. Next, we have Miss Sushweta Saha, a seasoned senior school librarian at the Sri Ram Universal School, Hyderabad. With over 10 years of experience working with children across all grades and abilities, and for the past 5 years working in school libraries, Sushweta ma'am brings a wealth of practical knowledge and insights into the daily operations and challenges of managing a school library. She has been instrumental in implementing innovative initiatives and programs at the Sri Ram Universal School, Hyderabad. And her passion for creating engaging and accessible library experiences shines through in her work. It's an absolute honor and delight to have Sushweta ma'am joining us live for this session. Welcome, Sushweta ma'am. And now we have Mr. Yogendra Patidar. Yogi Patidar is a young award-winning entrepreneur, Business World 40 Under 40 Education Award, who is passionate about changing education in India and beyond. He's a graduate of both EDI Ahmedabad and JNB, and he co-founded Sivom, a company that designs learning spaces to help students become future leaders. He's also involved in other businesses and loves technology, philosophy, literature, fashion, and supporting his team. Welcome to this session, Yogi sir. We are delighted to have you joining us live today. Now
Thank you,
let's
Akshay.
start. Thank you. Now let's start with the first of the 3 phases of this discussion. The first phase will have a discussion over the changing landscape of libraries, and 5 to 7 minutes will be allotted to each guest speaker to share their thoughts on the questions asked by us. So let's start with Yogi sir. So the first topic that is coming for you in this theme is libraries as community hubs. And the questions for you would be, please discuss the shift from libraries as mere book repositories to vibrant community centers that offer diverse resources and services. And you also have to answer, please emphasize the importance of creating flexible and inclusive spaces that cater to the evolving needs of diverse communities. Yogi sir, all over to you.
Great. Thank you, Akshay. So, Libraries just as a repository to a collection. I say, first of all, we have to understand libraries are typically a real estate. A library cannot exist if there is no physical space around it. Okay, so but real estate has to have the soul, and the soul today coming is from typically an individual. Okay, so I always say, how do we get connected to human way of learning? Okay, how human really connect to something. So one way of learning is through self direction. Is it my curiosity awaken enough? If I'm wanted to learn something, I'll go very deep in that content. Okay, I'll figure out context after context. Okay, so one is a self intelligence, related. So how I build myself to the curiosity I have. Okay, and the second curiosity in humans comes through, as we are Homo sapiens, is through a social connection. If there is no social connection to us, our learning is always, limited. We get inspired, we got aspired, and all that makes a lot of big difference. Okay, so when I see a library has to evolve from a self-intelligent to a social intelligence mindset. Okay, so if I'm connecting a space, physical real estate, how it's connecting to other people around the group. So it has to be community driven thinking. It has to bring culture, it has to bring context to the subject, that why it has been done and how it can inspiring me to get there. So a lot of problems when we were solving in India is, the first one is, can we make library exciting space? You know, do I like to be getting there? Is there an invitation to me? Is there a welcomeness to me? Because all of us are not maybe reading writing learners. Few of maybe are kinesthetic learners. Few of us can be visual learners. Few of us can be different pace learners. But for reading and writing, you had a different mindset too, and we are being taught through that. But how do you really connect to this context of learning? So I know I'm a passionate entrepreneur, and if you talk to me about a subject in chemistry or surface chemistry, and if I like the work, I would go and understand, organic and inorganic chemistry inside it, and I'll go in depth of it. That's how I evolve, and that's where I need content to go to. Okay, so is that engagement enough in this? So I always say, there has to be three things in a library real estate: is engagement. Okay, I would say evolution. It has to be continuously evolving, and it has to be equitability. There has to be equity for everyone. What is that buy-in for every user there? How it is equitable for every user. So if every user can go and feel that this is my space, our job as a library been done as a social space. So I always say we have to see it from a social and community think point. If that can be brought in, then the job is much much deeper. Also today, when we see, one of the exercises when we were doing with the KIT, IIM, or a couple of other projects, is how do we see learning in the campus, learning anywhere else? Okay, and can this learning be mapped to the physical space of libraries? Why we only think, they are only for focused readers? Why it is not for a social reader? Why it is not for an engaging learner? So if I can bring all those people in the space, that would be a next level of habitat creation for those learners. So again, like we said, we had to make habitats to help learning habits to grow. So this habitat has to have buy-in for everyone. So for me, these three key spaces, like I say, the future of physical learning spaces is in building self-intelligence, social intelligence, and adaptive intelligence. And that's why the library has to have evolution, equitability, and engagement. If that can be brought in this, we can get learners inside that area and make them self and social learner both. Hope I answered.
Perfect. Yes, sir. The three things that you highlighted, that every library space should have are engagement, evolution, and equity. Thanks for
Yes.
sharing your views, sir. Now we have a very interesting topic for Dr. Bijayalaxmi Rautaray. Theoretical frameworks and societal role. Ma'am, our questions for you are, please discuss the theoretical frameworks that underpin the evolution of libraries and their role in society. And on second, we request you to answer, explore the evolving relationship between libraries, information access, and community development in the 21st century.
Thank you, Akshay, for the nice introduction. Can you share my screen, Evolution of Libraries?
Yes, yes, sure, ma'am. No, obviously.
It's Evolution of Libraries. Are you able to?
Yes, yes, ma'am. The team is working on it. They're having a little bit of glitch. Until that comes alive, ma'am, could you please share your views? Yeah, yeah, it's
Sure.
Yeah.
on. I think so. It's, yeah, it's uploading. Please go ahead.
Uh, Thank you, Akshay, and sharing the screen. The next slide, please. Libraries have developed leaps and bounds with the evolution of the concept of libraries since time immemorial. There exists an evolving relationship between libraries, information access, and community development in the 21st century. While highlighting the important developments during different phases of time, I would like to focus on theoretical framework that underpin the evolution of libraries and their role in society. Next slide. How I can go? So, in mid 1800, public libraries gained popularity, and in 1876, library and organization changes forever. In 1890s, children set foot in the library. 1970s, computerized cataloging became the norm. In 1991, the first digital library started, and in the late 1990s, library architecture evolves. In the year 2000, RFID technology started and it simplifies the functioning of the library. In 2010, the introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning started. So, this is a theoretical framework. Libraries across the globe can make an important contribution to solving social problems in a special way to eradicate information poverty. The following is a theoretical framework: Accelerate the Library of the Future, that is planning process and critical discourse, and then information justice as part of social justice, and then assistive technologies and inclusive education. Then in the description, next slide please. Planning process and critical discourse. It is very much essential to have a thorough planning process and critical discussions on different activities of libraries from time to time. A step by step approach is helpful in this regard. Under informational justice, theoretical speaking, information must be equally shared among all categories of users, irrespective of gender, class, or community. And finally, in assistive technologies, it includes latest information communication technology, the use of cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and the technology should be applied to all branches of knowledge and to all the classes. Next slide, please. In all fairness, libraries have constantly developed over the last few centuries. As per the history of the library evolution, it is now the need of the hour to set goals and vision to achieve heights in the future. In this context, not only from the theoretical perspective, but also librarians, policymakers, and technocrats should work in practical dimension to achieve the set targets. I hope I have answered your first question on theoretical framework. Thank you, Akshay.
Perfectly, perfectly stated, ma'am. And yes, you have covered, you have given the importance on the role of technology access as well as how librarians and policymakers can work together. Thank you so much for sharing the theoretical frameworks, ma'am.
Thank you.
And So now let's have Miss Sushweta Saha, and her the topic for her is case studies from TSU Hyderabad. Ma'am, your questions are: please share successful examples of library initiatives or projects implemented at TSU Hyderabad that demonstrate innovation, community engagement, or the effective use of technology. And please also highlight the impact of these initiatives on library users and the broader community.
Thank you so much, Akshay, and thank you, everybody. It's an honor for me to be in this very esteemed platform and to share the views. I think as school librarians, we've had a very uphill task. Till up to before COVID, library was a great space. Children went, enjoyed reading. There was pluses and minuses. Post COVID, there has been a 360 degrees shift in education from primary all the way up to senior secondary, with the influx of digital um, knowledge, information, and requirement. uh, there has been a difficulty to maintain this balance for children. We've had a lot of children taking into technology very smoothly. This is the digital generation we're talking about, but also information has been changing at such a rapid rate that we've had so many other things happening to a child, right from a nursery, a pre-primary student who is entering education, who has to learn reading and writing, to not having faced a teacher ever, to a teenager who's dealing with so many information overload, and ability to balance, and digital cyberbullying, and so much of mental stress happening, that it's been a huge shift in the way we have looked at children and school and education. That's where the libraries, post COVID especially, and that's what I'm going to address, uh, has come across as a safe space for students to find in the rush of academics, in the rush of schooling, especially in Indian context, in any board. And I'm coming from an IB background, and I represent CBSE, and I know that at all levels, it's a big pressure on children to perform better, especially in Indian context: reading, writing, knowing, presenting. And so library, the first and foremost, I think, uh, thing that a library, school library, provides for a child is safe space, a space where they have their own voice, they have their choice and their agency. They get to read what they want to read, what is dictated, or not what is expected from them to do. So creating that space, and I think that kind of is similar to what my previous speakers have always mentioned, that the environment needs to be such that it's non threatening, that they need to look at it as something which is different from home, different from their classroom, where expectations are different. So the librarian, as sir mentioned, Mr. Yogi mentioned, that is the soul. So we can have the real estate, but the soul is a librarian who welcomes, and who has that relationship with the student that allows the child to feel free. And only then can the child then move forward and explore books, because again, in today's generation, uh, what we learn today, it will not no longer be useful for us the very next day. We are constantly learning, unlearning, and relearning, that kind of a thing. And for a child to understand that what he's learning today will not be relevant tomorrow, is a very uphill task for all the teachers. uh, I'm talking from the point of the foot soldiers, like we are the people, the teachers who work with small children, middle school children, children who are at the crux of puberty. So telling them that whatever you've learned, this entire geography, this atlas that you've learned, the boundaries, this will all change tomorrow. But we cannot put them through that. So that's where the power of books come. And we are right now, I feel, at the golden age of children's books. We have so many fantastic children books across ages and abilities coming across, and diverse and inclusive book where there's representation at every level. Like, I remember growing up reading only a specific author, a specific kind of people were represented in the books, like in post or rather in colonial India, we had access to only British literature, so Enid Blyton, white children. But now, as I mentioned, we are in the golden age. We have so many Indian authors and Indian illustrators, and also I think the publishing industry makes it more accessible to more Western literature, where again there is a lot of diversity and inclusivity, and children get to see themselves. So many things which we are unable to tell the children, the books are able to tell, and this is books beyond curriculum. So providing the books in the library is what and where the school librarian comes in, and that helps make the connection and helps children understand the world, uh, and just gets into the flow. They need to be reading, and uh, we can teach them the science of reading, but in the end they have to internalize this reading so that it becomes a habit. And that happens only when they're reading for enjoyment, when they're reading by themselves, and all that, again, when that voice, choice, and agency is delivered to them through libraries. So I have some pictures which kind of just show that how we can make it more, how a plain library, like just a room with the books, can create interest for children across ages to want to read beyond their curriculum, beyond what the syllabus dictates, what beyond what their exam wants them. So if I can quickly just show the slides. um, So our school at this point is just 8 years old, and growing. We've had the senior secondary school actually open post-COVID. So before that, we did not have students beyond 8th grade. So to be able to create a space for them, we've had the library at this point. We have huge, as ma'am mentioned, that we need to have a lot of critical planning to think again to develop this library. That's all in place. But at this time, we have a good enough space. We are a huge school. We have 12,200 students visiting each of the libraries, junior and senior separately, every week. So we have like each class about 31 students get to visit the library every day. So the space is nice and spacious. We have tried to create an ambience which is welcoming, which is non-threatening, which provides them easy access, which is very different from classrooms. I think that is what is more important. Next, please. The next slide, please. Yes, so with the use of uh, interactive bulletin boards, we've tried to have children, get more curious about what's happening inside the library than just being the repository of books, as we know. So every month we have a theme, or we have author celebrations and birthdays and things like that. So we started with the National Reading Day, which I mentioned, which there's a lot of focus on, what it is and who started the library movement, and children get to share what they read over summer. And because it's interactive across ages, children wrote down what they read, and so they got internal references or recommendations that who was reading what and why it was very essential, what made it more exciting. And if you see the softboard, many of them have flaps which open. So there's a prompt or a question on the top, and when the children open it, then there's an interesting fact or an information up there. So this kind of an interactive softboard, which is again, if you see, it's not digital, but because it's there, it's easy access for children to always be there, to touch it, to move it, rather than a traditional library setup where you cannot touch the softboard, you cannot write on the board. So we've moved away from that and have children interact more with the resources that we have. Uh, we have promotion of this book, especially during Janmashtami, when the country takes over celebrations and all. We actually promote reading of the book, the Gita by Rupa Pai. So we have got thoughts and processes and things all written, and we have children's interpretation there. Then we have in having children read. Horror is a very popular genre across children, right from elementary to senior secondary. So we encourage them to write horror stories, but only a 2 sentence scary stories, and that kind of forces them to think critically, to develop a story into into just two sentences. Now, remember, we are also dealing with children who live in the digital world, who see reels, who do not have that much reading capacity to have them attract immediately. We've had to have more of these kind of boards which do that. So these kind of initiative and all always encourages children to look forward to in the library. When they come in, it's like, okay, ma'am, what are we going to do this month, or what is that's happening this week? So those are the things that we do. So those are the initiatives that keep doing it, like this entire month. And again in January, we will be celebrating Read India, Love India, which is basically where we encourage children to read Indian books, Indian authors, and take part in the National Charul Book Award, which is the Children's Picture Book Award, where it's a entirely children's choice voice. So they get to read the 10 shortlisted books, and then they vote for the top 3, and then they go ahead and do it. So so all these kind of, somewhere or the other, we are finding different ways to make them go back into reading. Next slide, please. So these kind of things also always live in the library, promoting. See, we as my previous speakers mentioned, that libraries should be inclusive. So we are looking at people who are reading and who are not good readers at this point, but always having something in the library for them to read and explore is what we encourage. So having a little word of the wall thing. So it's just a word which is put up, and children then take dictionaries and find out, the parts of the word, like whether it's a noun, a verb, or something, and then they write it down in a sentence, and they do it. So it's they are the one who are putting up a new word, and they're putting up, looking at the dictionaries to put those things up, and then again next week going on to another child. And then simple questions which have been put up, like how many books are there in the library. And so, just having them actively engage with the resources, not just live in the shelf, or just have the teacher come out and tell that this is something that you have to read. So because only when they engage with it actively. And also remember that our students are here for about only 30-35 minutes per week. So we've got to, like, get them immediately, get their attention, manage them, because they must have just come from PE, and they're hot and sweaty, and they're going into a math test, which is the next period. So it's a balance, trying to have them interested in library, interested in reading, getting them to read beyond what is expected or what they like. So next slide, please. And of course, we try to bring in a lot of community. We celebrate International Read Aloud Day by encouraging teachers to come in and read to some other class, or their own class, or something like that, or just members of the school community pop into the library and read aloud. The power of read aloud can never be there's no words to say that it's less. The more that we do is always better. And for children who have stopped, at home, also parents are so involved with their jobs and work, and giving devices as has happened, as it's a second nature. So providing them with books and having somebody read aloud to them itself is a huge treat. And then of course we have community visits. We have children from non government school, actually, which is actually based in the tribal areas. They came for a visit, and our children actually showed them the libraries, and they were very excited to share them the second language books, that means the Telugu books, and then we were able to actually give them. They read aloud with them. So a lot of community engagements keep taking place. And the picture in the corner is actually our vice principal, who's reading a picture book, because as I said, we're part of this Jarul book competition, where children have to read books and vote for their favorite books. And the votes are actually collected nationwide, and then the best book and the author and the illustrator gets awarded. So it's an event that the entire school takes part, and we all come back consciously to read picture books, because again, the content is small and the visuals are very big and nice. So again, it's very accessible to all kind of learners. Everybody can quickly spare a minute or two to read a picture book, which is different from their academics. Next slide, please. And then of course we also reach out to our teacher community uh, through different kind of workshops and also teachers, as you know, in Indian schools, they're kind of like flooded with curriculum requirements and uh, time constraints. So here we have teacher done by the librarians. We've got explaining to them importance of read aloud in the pre-primary classes, and research skills for grade 4 and 5, where that's when they have to do an independent research project. So how to help teachers help children do that. And we also have a lot of resources which come in. We involve the teachers to come. Those are our second language teachers. We've got this huge collection of resources from Ektara publications. So those, they have beautiful Hindi books and poems in poster forms. They had come in, and we encouraged our Hindi teachers to come in and brainstorm ideas where they could use. And the last one, we again have another of our librarian explained to us how Story Weaver, which is a platform which is easily accessible, can be used by classrooms, and things like that. So although it might seem that there is a less of digital happening here, but that's the requirement. We have consciously shifted away from the digital thing to encourage children go back to books, because eventually they will. So at this time when during formative years, and especially post COVID, helping them kind of slow down, go back to books, enjoy books is our primary goal. And I think the biggest reflection that we have seen, the change, the shift that we have seen, is the children, first of all, actively voicing out their wanting to go to the library and feeling very, very upset if the library period is taken. So today I'm sitting at home because we've had an unexpected rainy day, because it rained very heavily all through the night, so schools were closed. And the first thing that I came to know were the children in the higher grade classes, which were having online classes, were that, oh, we missed our library class. So so that, I think, is the biggest impact that all these things have had on our children. And another thing, of course, is increased vocabulary, better understanding of things. Children are now talking about, you know, wars and inequality and injustice, and Dalit movement and all, because we've always come back to books. This is not part of their curriculum, but because we've shared books where these things have been mentioned. Even a lot of media to book comparisons. Like we said, we did a huge Harry Potter week, so children had a lot of thoughts about why the movie was not up to the mark, and there's so many things in the book which was not there. And then we always go back to the Gita, which actually had the mention of the Oppenheimer thing, and the children who had watched that, they came back to say that, yes, how did she know? She had put it in the book even before. So all this, any way, different ways to bring children back to books. These are the different ways that we try to involve children. Thank you.
Very, very wonderfully answered. Even I can relate. Like, if there's a book, if a movie is coming out and that is trending and that is an adaptation from a book, I would go and read it again, and then I will see why this movie doesn't have all these elements that were shared in the book. So yeah, I can relate to it very easily. So, ma'am, you shared so many points on how libraries have come across as a safe space for all learners. Then you highlighted the emphasis of learning as per Indian context. Then the perspectives of teachers as the foot soldiers. Then the golden age of children's books, and how Indian authors and their literature are making a mark, and importance of ambience in the library activities and events and initiatives in the library, making the library as an exciting space. So thank you, ma'am. Now let's move to Dr. Sanjay Kataria. Sir, the theme for you is specific challenges and opportunities for libraries. Please discuss the challenges that libraries face in this area, and please share your expertise and interests.
Thank you very much. And let me start with my gratitude to the Sivom for initiating this wonderful discussion. And thanks to our co-panelists, they shared their views and expertise very nicely. The topic is very much close to my heart, and this is the only time when we talk about transformation or transition the libraries. If you look at the libraries way back 16th, 17th or 18th century, there was a library known just a space. libraries identified as a space. There's that kind of traditional space with some traditional resources where people used to visit that space, exploring that resources over there, print books, journal databases, and all. But there was no databases. Sorry, there was traditional resources like a print journals, print books, and the newspaper, some more resources and all. That kind of passive zone. There was a time then people used to visit and travel a lot from one place to another place and just to explore and collect the kind of literatures where they want to use in the research or teaching or whatever. But now this present scenario talking about transition and transforming the library is no more that kind of passive space, it's a kind of active space. What is safety now? Earlier user used to go to the library, but now library is going to the users. There's a major transformation is that now library has to identify. We're talking about Ranganathan quoting every book should have a reader. Where is that? That the librarian has to ensure that whatever books we have or whatever the resources we have at this moment, that should be available and accessible to the users. And we have to search, we have to identify the users, and we have to retake those collection and to facilitate the users. Sir, where are you? This is you for you only. Correct. Because library, if you look at the library in this present era, especially I'm talking in context of the private universities, space is very important. Getting a space for room or in some hall or in some, again, tedious job. What I told today's starting with the ma'am talking about my chancellor talking about libraries. Whole campus is a library. Why wanted this kind of space? Why wanted this specific space? Whole campus is in Wi-Fi. You should have to have a kind of resources available with the library, and let them explore where across the campuses. The whole campus is a library. Then again, we have to look at the librarian, how best, because if you look at this transition and the digitalization of the resources. So if you look at the space, library space, the footfall is decreasing day by day. We are talking about decreasing the space, footfall time day by day. But look at the another way. Library resources is transformed as digital, having a good enough uses. But whatever space is assigned to us, that is our duty to ensure that should be in welcoming, what madam said. We have to create a kind of culture and ambience. People feel that there should be a kind of ownership with them. They can explore the library. Library is no more the silent space. Library is no more the silence zone. Library is a happening space. Library is in a collaborative zone. Peer learning, talking about. Resources available, accessible. But they want a space, like in a maker space. They can go and do some experiment. Library is a kind of multimedia rooms where people can go and explore the media resources. They can, today we are discussing on this online, we had a webinar. There is a provision within the library where people can get in a space, we can have a virtual interaction discussions and can learn from each other. There is a space. There is a kind of media lab within the library where people can not only access, not only can interact, but can generate digital content. They can record, they can add it, they can create more videos, they can, because this generation is not only consuming that kind of resources, but they're creating more resources. Every day, kind of look at the kind of resources we are generating throughout, the day or year. Look at the use of the social medias in present context. Kind of photographs, kind of information, kind of text we are going to upload. How we are connecting the community, virtually or the physical. So there is so much transition, transformation of the libraries from traditional library to present library, and again we have to go a long way. I want to see that kind of time where there is in one small space and all the libraries on cloud. And again, there is naturally there is what Akshay has asked me to talk about challenges and opportunities about this transformation specific challenges in context of technologies, impact and utilization. So I will discuss with the different challenges, but you look at that users behavior. Now user is no more concerned about kind of what resources you people curated in your library is not important. What they're expecting, those kind of content, and where they want to access those, and the way they want to access is entirely different. Now they don't want to read whole book in it one go. They want a kind of more personalized information what exactly they look for. And again, the challenge is for the library team is to ensure and customize the resources based on the requirement. Therefore, what we are doing, we are going to map the teaching curriculum with the library resources. When talking about mapping the resources with the teaching curriculum, that means there is a program like a BTech, there is a 4-year BTech, and there is a say 30 subject they're going to teach. Then we have to map each and every courses with the library resources in case someone going to teach data structure. So these are the digital resources available, there is a physical resources available, or some other resources available. Then we have to create a kind of subject guide, lib guide, where the youth, because every faculty cannot remember all the things together. When they're in classroom, they can send single click and show X number resources available, and they can assign the classroom assignment based on the available resources. This is the shift. What I told you earlier, user used to find, go and find the resource. Now library has to find the resource and facilitate. This is the shift. So, talking about the challenges, what Akshay has asked the question, specific challenges and opportunities for the librarian in age of innovation and technology. When talking about innovation technologies, so first and foremost, talking about digital divide. We are so much talking about the advancement of technology. We are talking about kind of 4G to 5G. But if you go, 20 to 100 or 200 kilometers away from metro cities, what is the situation of your connectivity? Where the digital infrastructures? People still that look at the kind of population staying in the rural areas, they hardly has any kind of accessibility. In case there is last 3 days, the Greater Noida, I'm sitting in Greater Noida, we have a kind of rainy season. Kind of how much disruptions related to this technology, this accessibility of the internet. How will set, providing a kind of access to knowledge resources across globe. Still, there is a lot of barriers and kind of if you look at a kind of budgetary constraint. When you're going to develop any digital infrastructures, kind of equipment you require, kind of cloud server you require, kind of software you require, kind of skill set is required. Where is that? This is the constant, because if you can someone is supported you somehow 1 time or 2 times, but sustainability is big questions. How to sustain and maintain those digital infrastructures? Creating we are recording a video lectures. We are going to start an online educations. Again, asking faculty to come on a video studio to record the editing, re-editing, and all kind of, then providing that particular lecture on the different platforms and make that providing accessibility again is a big task. Rapid change in the technology. Today we are talking about X technology, tomorrow as in Y technology. Having integration of the technology itself a big deal. Having understanding and expertise of each and every technology is a big deal. Today we are having a kind of comfortable with X technology. Tomorrow again coming the AI, explore, applying everywhere. So applying the technology, exploring the technology, again the tedious zone. When talking about digital world, the data protection is a big deal. Data privacy is a big deal. Every day we are attending so many calls from the banks. So we are offering this and that kind of services. Who has given our data to them? We are no safe in this digital world. Our each and every moment of the day is recorded by the Google. I can just taking this device with me, and my anyone can access that how many places the person has visited in a day. People can look track him lively. So this is again threat on the other side. There is no security provision, no data protection. We don't have our own right. We are not owning our own right. Somebody is owning our rights. They're exploring, playing with our rights. So intellectual property right. We are talking about digital transformation, but look at the Copyright Act. We are having so much digital stuff in our library, but they are having a lot of barriers. Some of publisher providing their platform access with view only. They can view only. They can read only. Sometime you cannot download it. You cannot preserve it. But in case I have a print copy with me, I can carry. I can traveling. I'm just reading and everything. There is no problem with that. Still, whatever is advancement is there. But before sleeping, I'm putting my print book within my bed and able to read few pages on daily basis, and that thereafter I'm getting sleep. But I cannot read everything on my mobiles. Again, there so much disruption. User expectation is very high. You're talking about AI chatbot and all. 24/7, who's going to respond them? Are you believing and relying on that technology like AI? What the kind of responses what we are getting? We are using ChatGPT and all other kind of platforms. Are we getting right content? They understand all the context what we want to tell, what we want to write? Again, there is a matter of concern that we need to think about it. Sustainability that I told, digital literacy. Again, you maintained so much things, good infrastructures, great content and all, but digital literacy, each and every platform of our digital resources having a different user interface. I'm first on talking you using this one LinkedIn and what the platform you are using. Before that, we have so many different platforms. So each and every person cannot have a kind of expertise on different kind of platforms. Again, they require a kind of digital literacy. Who's going to support them? The library is the best place to tell and create a kind of awareness, conduct more training towards that. Nowadays, talking about digital world means there is a lot of disinformation, misinformation is there. Talking about fake news, so much fake news in going around the world. Today morning before this session, I was talking with one of my friend. The incident took place in Kolkata. One of my friend, I'm not going to name, but he's a forensic expert. And we are having a lot of misinformation about this cruelty, this kind of damage is there, this and that, whatever. But when you're going for this postmortem, there is a different story. So kind of this fake news create a kind of environment where we trapped with that kind of information. People are cheating in a day-to-day basis. Day before yesterday, I got I was just using some investment, this IPO and all. I applied some IPO, but someone did about more than lakh rupees deducted from my account. I was tracking which particular investment it is gone, but lately I could not found, and still I'm waiting from the bank confirmation which particular scheme we are going to invest and how. But because I have not initiated, I'm still worrying. So many things behind this kind of advancement and all, but we have to accept it, the change. We have to adapt the change. We have to develop an expertise, a kind of develop an understanding. And again, that being a librarian, we need to look at in a different perspective. We cannot see that kind of library used to use in a 1970s or 80s. Again, we are after 10 years, we have a different kind of environment. Then we need to equip ourselves accordingly. But I discussed so many challenges, but there is an opportunity. Opportunity is what? Talking about we are able to use a different set of the technology. We are trying to experiment, understanding, and developing our expertise. Nowadays, I'm talking about research support services. Now, Scopus AI is a new research indexing database talking about Scopus AI. Just put in a context of your research, they will give you a lot of literature automatically. So one side, another thread, there is a threat, but another side, there is a lot of benefits. Talking about digital transformation, we are using AR, VR, and all kind of facilities. We are provided in remote access facilities. That was not possible. Now my library can be accessed in any part of the world. You just have to have a connectivity. You can get any content. User engagement, again there is a big opportunities for the library. Data driven, yes, we have a lot of data analytics is now talking about. Based on the data, we can understand which particular area they having more in use, what are the expectation of the users. We can look conduct in a kind of surveys and kind of interviews, online, offline, and all. So sustainability in term of that, talking about digital world, that sustainability in term of energy and paper. So much paper we are wasting, but nowadays digital stuff is there. No mean to, we can save our environment. We can have some natural kind of light, because we are using the solar and solar panel and all. So much benefits are there, and expanding a lot of digital collections. So look at, both ways, but we have to look at how best we can make it a balance of this challenges side and opportunities, and we have to go together, and we have to develop in this kind of ecosystem. We will have a better humanity, better life, along with advancement.
Right.
So this is, I think so. I hope I answered your questions posed. Thank you very much.
Perfectly summed up, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for showing us how we have to match the teaching curriculum with the library resources and all the important things related to data protection and intellectual property rights in this age. And here we close the first session of our theme. And now let's head on to the second theme of this session, designing libraries for the future. On first, I would like to have Dr. Bijayalaxmi Rautaray, who will be asked to share her thoughts on research evidence on library design impact. And since we are running short of time, so I request all the panelists to please give your 5 minutes for answering. So the questions for Dr. Bijay Lakshmi are, ma'am, please tell how to explore the research evidence on the impact of library design on user behavior, learning outcomes, and community well-beings.
Thank you, Akshay. Again, I will request to share the screen, but I will not take more than 5 minutes. Yeah. So, library design plays the most crucial role in providing a beautiful study atmosphere to the readers, community to derive utmost satisfaction and pleasure in accessing libraries in pursuit of knowledge. Great libraries of the world which have impressed and influenced readers are the buildings, aesthetic design of New York Public Library, George Peabody Library, USA, Iblingen Monastery Library, Germany, among others. In this context, the aesthetic design of Kit Central Library, established by our honorable founder, Kit and Case, Professor Dr. Achyuta Samanta, is a kind of library to showcase to the entire world. As per the views of various eminent persons, Muller in 2012 views the library not only as the physical space but also as a living, breathing organism. Therefore, the aesthetic design of a library has a tremendous impact on user behavior. So, it is evident from the research of Morat 2014 that increased emphasis on open design layouts with wide open rooms with large windows were a common aesthetic feature that could subsequently enhance the user behavior and learning outcome. So, contextually, I would like to showcase the aesthetic design of a world class kid center library that not only attracts the users but considerably enhance the learning outcomes. I express my heartfelt gratitude to our honorable founder, Kit and Keys, Professor Dr. Achyuta Samanta, for providing a world class library and learning ambience to enhance quality education and research. Let me provide a glimpse of the aesthetic design of Kit Central Library, which is made by Shivam in 2019. Video, please. It's a 2 minutes video. It will showcase the Shivam work in library. Start the video, please. It will play.
It will. The team is working in the background. Ma'am, actually, the video is having some glitch that the restream platform may not support for it, but still we are working. Could you
Okay.
please elaborate on that thing, ma'am?
Please show the then achievements of Kid Dimity University, because it impacts on the ambience impacts on the learning outcomes and the achievements of the KIT DEMT University. The prestigious Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology ABET USA has accredited KIT DEMT University 6 engineering programs for next 6 years. KIT joined WTUN. KIT has joined WTUN as a member, providing its students with numerous opportunities, including participation in global competitions, the chance to win the Brain Cantor Scholarship Prize, hackathons, access programs. KIT is among 20 universities in the world. KIT in AICMRH. It has got approval of the Australia India Critical Minerals Research Hub under the Spark scheme by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. KIT has become a member among 17 Indian institutions, and 11 Australian institutions are involved in this program. This recognition proves the high quality programs of KIT, which effectively prepares students for global careers. KIT is the only university in India to have accreditations from both IET UK and ABET USA. KIT has got A++ grade accredited by NAC. And then my next slide, KIT believes in reality and quality. Please see the growth, the rank over the years from 2020 to 24. We have started the new library in 2019 by Sivam. The ambience, the architect, and the design and the furniture are very much crucial to attract the people to do the research work. Their collaborative zone and their mini conference room where the faculty and the student can interact themselves. Researcher can silently read for their research. So everything is there to support the research and the learning of the university. So, in my concluding remarks, Kids Central Library has been focus of the attraction for its aesthetic design, wonderful arrangement of books, and perfect peaceful study ambience. It has been appreciated by high-profile visits of distinguished people from the country and abroad. Mention may be made that research productivity of the university is testimony to its excellent library design, systems, facilities, and services. Akshay, if you can please show the video now, it will
Uh,
be great.
yeah. Ma'am, actually, Restream platform is not supporting the video for now, but still we are trying to make some things work. If it does, then I will of course play it eventually, ma'am.
Sure. Sure. This is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for covering how libraries can be a living and breathing organism, and for also mentioning how the library at KIIT is impacting a lot of learners. And now, let's move to invite Mr. Yogendra Patidar. Sir, I request you to please share about the Scott Hansen model for creating multifaceted spaces and how its four spaces like inspiration, learning, meeting, and performance support different learning modes, and how Sivom also uses that in making dynamic and adaptable library environments.
Great. Uh, I'll ask Abhilash Rakshay who can play the PPT. But before I start there, I would like to. So, point is, like we talked about, future of library spaces. Okay, and I was got to know about 4 years ago how you can predict future. There is science about predicting futures. As a librarian, you must have heard about a futurist called Elvin Toffler. Okay, he's been amazing guy who had predicted 21st century in 1980s. Okay, his quote that 21st century illiterate would not be those who could not read or write, but those who could not learn, unlearn, relearn. He talks about understanding the pulse of youth and education, and if we cannot predict right education, we may be betraying the future of our nation. Okay, so idea is this is how we have to understand that future need to be sensed and always future comes in present in small portions. So I always say the future which is going to exist is is in some portion present today. Which one is what we need to predict, and there are models around it. And futurology is a complete subject where we can actually predict future. Okay, and people who's looking at data exploration looks into this. So when you talk about future, we have done a lot of modelings at CIVOM. We try to understood how future and future impact can have an correlation to the spaces and the kind of learning which we need to design and learning space we need to offer. So that's why I know if you look at the subject, I said it's an innovation and inspiration center. We had to understand libraries as a social purpose real estate rather than anything else. The moment we say library, there is a lot of connotation which is coming from our past, early ages. Okay, so that word also has to explode. That has to sense some different kind of association to brain. Because if I understand library and I don't understand it's an inspiration or innovation center or in a social purpose design. Because look at it this way: at my home I can get a schooling. I can read books today at my home also. Okay, and homeschooling is preferred. And then why do we need schools or universities? Okay, so there is a very strong context of social science, which is what humans are designed around. So, and that's why school makes a kind of human that is evolved around other humans. Okay, and that becomes social center. So how do we really look at this social purpose real estate and why we really need to look at that? Yes, Abhilash. So why we need to really change the social spaces? There are three key aspects. Just so one is what we call, this is the few facts which we could, probably draw down our experiences working with different institutions and users. So, library spaces are not inviting enough. A lot of areas where we felt that, 1 out of 4 feels that they are not, inviting enough. That doesn't give me the sense of going there and, welcoming it out. Uh, Other fact which you could figure out is 51% learning generation is drastically changing. Their behaviors are changing. Apparently, they prefers more active learning rather than a passive learning systems. 1/3 of us feel that relevant community spaces for growth are missing in the libraries. So, like Dr. Kataria mentioned about innovation hubs or media labs or media hubs, all of that kids are looking for that in the libraries because they don't have those centers like recording themselves, creating audiobook, creating video books. All that need to be provided as a center of social growth. Okay, so if I tell you a school or a university model of teaching, typically it involves a particular period of time, and the particular period of time is still lecture oriented or teacher directed. Okay, and if I get inquisitive, I got curious to learn something, where would be my time to explore that? Can I not access a resource right away, right now? And should I wait only for library period to go and visit that space and connect to that? If I want to experiment something, can my classroom or a learning space should not have facilitation to experiment that right now? So where is that we creating those spaces for users to connect those curiosities? Okay, and that's what today's generation feel those relevant spaces or relevant community connections are kind of missing. Our classrooms has only community which is our classroom. Our school may not become our community because we are so much directed towards those 30 kids. Okay, we get a less chance to connect with other peers. Okay, so how is the social communities growing there? And of course IT being a key factor which is growing 3,000% as a year on year or more than that. Okay, so that's the level of technology universe is creating around. Okay, actually Abhilash, little quickly, I should run it fast. So I just there's a few factors I talked about, just keep going. See, one thing is that which we must include in our work is knowledge of learning. That's a brain science. Okay, how human really learns. As a pure human, how do we really learn? Okay, think of times of Gurukul. Where so what we call today is vocational training or skill centers. were being introduced in gurukuls, and that's what later on become jatis. Okay, you talk about carpenters or goldsmith or ironsmith or all of this is now legit caste, but they were earlier by the interest of humans. Okay, and that's what the time is really came. Technology has enabled us to go to real human development and a product development. So I always say education institute today need to take a path of human development rather than a product development, because what we are really curating is humans rather than making them a product and treating them with the same kind of learning models. So we really need to get it through to real human way of learning. So how those real human way of learning can be included? Just keep going. So I don't know. I do talk about this a lot. There's a future of work model. Okay, a Bollywood way. So think of, and this is what I say. Future is already here. Think of if all of us are making a movie and we need to hire an actor. How would we hire? What would be his resume? That we can feel that he's the perfect guy for us to work. And that's the future of resume going to look like for any kind of organization. So future of work is not going to be asset light, but people light. We may have 20 people as a core team, and then we need few people for niche work. We hire them for a project or assignment, and we may not work together in future. So think of an actor, director, producer making a movie. They may not work in the next movie. So future is going to be like a people light model. You can have increased team, you can have a decreased team. Okay, and everything is going to be niche based, because we are trying to support every unique learner's unique needs and shaping them out. So if he's going to be a unique learner, he's going to produce unique set of outcomes. There would be niche coming to this, and that's why the all roles in society like UX designer, UI designer, learning experience designers, there is so much coming around. It's very niche, and that's only been required for that particular thing. So that's how the whole future of work looks like. And if I talk about the attributes of future of workforce, uh, Abhilash, so they are flexers, they are teamers, they are makers, purpose seeker. So today, someone whom we want to join in an office would not join if it doesn't connect to the purpose what Shivam is doing. Okay, so today's generation, they are more than basic. Now people don't want to work for money anymore. They want to work more than that. So how this more than that would come? So this is what purpose is aligning to. And I just take 2 minutes and we'll close it out. Yes, please go ahead. So we call it as buy-in mechanism, a equitable mechanism of creating future of libraries or design of future of libraries. Okay, we call it people, process, place, integration. Okay, so people mean who is going to be stakeholders. Place is the physical space. Okay, how much constraints, what are not. Process mean the programs, which we really need to align to the. So it can be the vision, maybe academics, other goals, and how all things come together to create the real library of future. Go forward. So go again. So we call this 4 question framework. It's a very interesting framework. Anyone can apply it easily. What we want our learners to become, what experience make that becoming happen, what space enable those experiences, and how do we know? So how do we know is basically the logic, the science, how human really learns. Okay, and it's tracing back. So every space would be a purposeful space because we know what we want to connect to the vision, and then the kind of work which will come would actually going to be equitable work. Okay, forward. I just explain Hansen squared quickly. Go on, go on. Go on. So there are a lot of models of creating social spaces. Hansen's code, there is a learning commons model, there is third space models, and there's so much about spaces and communities. So Hansen's code typically talks about these 4 things: experience, exploration, creation, and participation. and how this exploration and participation empowers us. It's about exploration. Look at like a book connection. Look at like learning something, and participation inside this, which is going to give me an empowerment. A participation and co-creation give me a creative space. Okay, a creation and experience give me innovation. Okay, it's like doing there, learning through the books, connecting with someone, having expert coming in the library, delivering something. It's all together. And how does it devices into multiple spaces? And that's what we call a learning commons model, which is typically goes into 4 or 5 modes: a focus mode, a sharing mode where 2 to 3 people works together, a team mode where 7 to 8 working for a common goal, a social mode where typically there is no pre-organized level of doing it, and there is a utility mode where we have other features. Yeah, go on. So if you see this space, there is a balance of focus to share to team to social, and that based on an institute's goal, it can change differently. Okay, keep going. So I'll just show you a couple of experiences which we had created. So this is how today's learners are learning. Okay, they don't have a fixed way of looking at it. Okay, they wanted to lie down, they wanted to stand, they wanted to take a rest to the wall. Okay. So that's what been created at IIM Ahmedabad. A lot of face out displays, then a spine out display. So idea is a face out display 7 times higher in circulation than a spine out. So how are we really marketing the books or the content in the community? Look at a retail mall. We are visually merchandising clothes, shoes, everything in dynamic way. But are we dynamically visually merchandising the content? Okay, sharing spaces to cave spaces on the corner. Okay, where you can connect together with the digital setup, and then sharing space where you can share the knowledge with each other. Having writable surfaces. I'll show you a couple of more. uh, so this is that kit. So look at the idea was having the shelving on wheels. Okay, so flexibility, how you can evolve your space based on the different needs, from a small gathering to big gathering to changing it out. Okay, using the side of shelving for displaying the content. Okay, so we go in all the details where we can really impact multiple neural sensors of human and make a connection to that. Okay, go forward. So like Dr. Kataria and Dr. Bijayalaxmi was mentioning about, this yellow wall is a writable wall. Okay, you can scribble around it. Okay, so it's like an ideation space. You can sit, scribble, teach each other. Okay, and that's again a color which you wanted them to attract towards. So thinking of is how a colorful wall can make become more writable. So changing the notion of from whiteboard surfaces to a colored surface for writing. Okay, go on. That's at I am Jammu. So idea was to create an inviting space at the entrance level. Okay, so it makes them more exciting about what all is gonna get into my library. Uh, Moving forward, and I'm just giving these examples. Yeah, so this is how we are using sides of shelvings. Okay, for OPEX, for displaying the content. What is inside this particular shelf? What you can expect? A recommended reading by a professor, a quote reading by a teacher. Okay, so how does we design this displays to get more excitement? Yes, so sessions for stories or directions where kids can sit on floor, or they can have session by their peers or professors or anything. So idea is we wanted the shelves and sittings to be closer to each other so that they can follow through the content. They are not should not be separated. So this is at American Embassy School, and I was just put this picture here is just to show that how current generation is learning in the schools. Now, if you can see these models, and they are going to be users in universities in future. Okay, And look at the dynamics that the kids who's in the schools and university today are Zen Alpha, not even Gen Zs. Gen Zs are now going to the workforce. Okay, and then there are a few more generation going to come. So think about it, how they're going to interpret the physical space and learning space, and what we need to create inside the library spaces. So here, if you see, there is a content which is available for accessible there only in their learning areas. So what Dr. Kataria was mentioning is to make the content reachable to them is what now been practiced in the schools also, in terms of having it in the classrooms rather than just waiting for a library period to go and access this out. Okay, so designing it for them in then and there only whenever they feel curious and engaging. Okay, go forward. And this is all real live work which getting through. I'm just giving you the context of from looking at university to school levels, how things are moving around. Okay, so this is their engagements, discussions, you know learning with each other. So very student centric environment where they can choose what they really wanted to look with the group. Go forward. That's at Kai earlier in Bangalore. So again, if you see the setup, there's no boundaries. Okay, they can choose their own path. Okay, groups which they are interested in. Like Sushita ji was mentioning about safe spaces. Can I feel coming from my home at early age that this is my place? I belong in here. Okay, can I connect with the other peers with me of mine? So this is what building around with that. One more, and then so this is what makes engagement, fun, learning all together. So its idea is how we can make it more human way. How we really learn in everyday life. Can education be designed towards that kind of learning rather than being a command and control driven? So we have a saying that our corridor models are of schools or universities are designed based on jails. Okay, we have a corridor and we have cells both the sides. Okay, so we have to break those models to actually make it a more humanized model of learning. Yeah. So this is how futures trends looks like, which is what getting in practice, and we can build over that. Thank you.
Pretty interesting visuals of library spaces design shared by Mr. Yogi Patidar. Now we move ahead to Dr. Sanjay Kataria, where I request him to have his quick insight on how technology impacts library design and user experience, along with the integration of digital resources, maker spaces, and collaborative technologies.
Thank you, Akshay. Though Yogi has already making a detailed presentation related to all the spaces, but certainly the technology is playing a very important role. Okay, what I said that library is no more the silence zone. It's a kind of happening place. So why I'm talking about, because now what we have done at the Benedict University, we have categorized the spaces. That is very important now. All library cannot have same similar space. It's no more the kind of silent space. First and foremost, that we created a kind of silence zone because we need to maintain the integrity of the library. So complete silence zone, and that is if you visit that place, there is a kind of green kind of colored areas we defined with a different code of colors. Okay, where that just this particular they understand this area is not quite zone. Another is in the collaborative zones where people can, because if you look at the teaching, recent teaching learning pedagogy is more towards peer learning, collaborative, projects and all together. They want to sit in, groups. So we have created a group discussion room for them. And group discussion room is heavily used. If you look at the statistics, is they have to book a group discussion room through our library website, and one group can book one GD room for 2 hours maximum. And there are a lot of they're doing different kind of cheatings. Even they're one by one, they're all together. One group itself, they're booking, so that whole day they can sit at in that GD rooms itself. But again, we are taking their names and enrollment number, and ensuring that let's have other people can also use those particular spaces. So when talking about a role of technology in the library design and the user experiences, I'll talk more about the smart infrastructures. Talking about smart infrastructures, that means wherever it is possible, should use the kind of technology. Technology, the kind of light sensor. We can save a lot of energy. There is some spaces that when somebody is visiting like in a washroom, just the sensor is there. Somebody is in a washroom, that light will automatically be on, otherwise it will be off. We have installed the self check-in checkout system in the library, RFID enabled. So they just can go visit to library stack area and pick a book and can go there and borrow the book and can get out from the library. Whenever they're dropping, they just drop in a books in the drop box and can go. There's hardly even a human interaction. That is not only talking about the space, but they will save a lot of time of the students. Otherwise, there's a time the user used to have a long queue to get issue of a book, single book, spending to 20 minutes to 30 minutes in a day, and there's a whole day 9 to 5. There is any classes. Second is the digital integration. When talking about integrations, is mean what? All integration is possible, audiovisual, AR, VR, and more talking about kind of 3D impact and all. What are the possible? Like in a library, all three libraries, we have three different libraries. We are placing a digital signage. So whatever information you want to use, just drop on your email along with that, and also update on that digital signage. So they're getting information, and there will look always every day we have some different digital uh, scanners, digital, what is the QR code or some kind of other information we're placing. Then one more important is that what Yogi has also said, flexible spaces. Nowadays there is a lot of provisions there. You have to have a kind of reading zone, but just when you want to have a use that particular space for different purpose, you can just mold it all that furniture together, can put in separate the flexible furnitures that you can move easily and other can activity can take place. So that flexible space is very important nowadays with a lot of modular furnitures and all. Then data driven design. Data driven design is what data analytics talking about. Technology is helping us. You can use your data analytics and see that last 1 year what are the more spaces being used by the student more, and what are they're more in demand. So based on the data and facts and figure and based on the evidence, you can decide your space and you can redesign your space. Seamless connectivity, this means integration with the mobile and kind of Wi-Fi and all together. There should be a kind of digital zone where that I what I told earlier, talking about multimedia zone. We're talking about this webinar rooms and all together. So all the different this is the actual requirement of day-to-day learning and teaching. So we should have to have a kind of provisions where people can record, where people can explore the digital report resources. Even few years before, I visited in NTNU, National Taiwan Normal University. I found that a lot of people, there is in a specific area, people are watching movies. I told this is a library, but still they are watching movie. But they hardly matter that whether they what kind of resources they are exploring. Let them feel free and feel that honor of that place. Otherwise, in Indian context, what are you talking? Don't talk, don't come, don't do this, don't. There are so many don't. Then they will say, why should I come to your library? There are so many don'ts. So let them have a kind of welcoming and kind of free zone where people can feel relaxed, can brainstorm, can do some fruitful activities. Sustainability means there is a green technologies available. When we are going to design the library, look at the natural light, look at that kind of solar energy and all. Can have a digital archive and all, so that you can save a lot of time, a lot of space of the library. Maker space talking about maker space is very nowadays very much in demand. So all these kind of collaborative hub and all, common libraries in community hub, even AI powered research assistants are there. Where earlier we used to have a lot of we are reporting a lot of staff for different purposes. But now AI enabled devices are there. You just go and ask. My daughter's whole day playing with Alexa speak like that. They even though she's in class 6 and there's some question while she's doing homework and she's asking Alexa, can you help me find out something? And Alexa is exploring information. So this is that kind of world. We have to keep all these changes in our mind while we are going to design the library space. And I should conclude the library should be welcoming, not only in terms of the resources, not only in terms of the spaces, not in terms of the but kind of culture and hospitality. Like my chancellor gave me kind of standing instruction to all that community of the Bennett University. As student, we are treating a student as a customer, like the way we are using hotels and having a good experiences. So he's always talking about good student experiences.
Perfect.
Students should have a good feeling. Students should have a kind of optimal utilization of the available resources and the services. They should feel kind of ownership. So this kind of environment is there. We need to cope up. We need to understand. We need to adapt. We need to equip ourselves in such a way so that we can facilitate in a better way. Thank you very much.
Perfectly stated. And there were many points at how Bennett has categorized the spaces in your library. Then there's silence zones and the concept of collaborative zones and peer learning and group discussions, and the most interesting use of booking space for group discussions and collaborations, and then how data-driven design helps in the designing of library spaces and how digital zones also impact the learners. Now we have the final question of this session for Sushweta ma'am. Ma'am, we request you to please discuss your insights on user experience and feedback from TSU, like your insights on how library patrons at TSU Hyderabad had the user, how it was mapped, like the user experience and feedback, and please highlight the successes and challenges of library design and service implementation.
Uh, s- so I think most of that I have already covered previously with the visuals. So the best thing that a school library can provide, as mentioned by previous this thing speakers, are that flexibility of space. I think the minute a child walks into the library and sees that there are no traditional chairs and tables, it's a very different. If you see this, if you remember the first picture of us, it's the chairs which are available are very different from the ones which are available in the classroom. Along with that, we have other things also. So the layout itself is very different for right from the younger kids to the senior students. The layout increases maximum interaction with the resources. So as mentioned by everybody, I think I've learned from all of them, and you're from your CWOM websites and also speaking to other professionals. We've tried to create similar experiences so children, so we have shelves all which are easily reachable to students. We have shelves which are all open ended, open shelving. We have nothing which is closed. And we keep things right on the desks, and also children can take it. Some books which we want children to see, like forward facing, and giving them the bookshop feel, so they can touch and use the resources mostly. And I think what has that improved is that there is a higher attendance rate on library days, because children don't want to miss out on the library day, as I mentioned to you previously. So they don't want to be absent on the day they have library. So I think that itself is a huge uh, which goes on to show that children do like to come to the library. And in school libraries, apart from the space, is that we do not expect them to be at a certain zone. It's an open space, it's a flexible space, so they're free to sit anywhere. They can just sit right next to their desks. I have found, to the bookshelf, the graphic novel section, they pull their little stool and they're just sitting there. They don't even want to sit where the supposedly bean bags or the rug is there. They're literally sitting right next to the Amar Chitra Katha comics, because that's where they're going to spend the next 30 minutes. So allowing them that flexibility that they can sit anywhere, touch any book, has is the biggest motivator for them. And also increase in book issuing. That is again a big thing, that yes, children are enjoying this book, so they are borrowing more books. So that is again an indicator. Now in school libraries, which is different from academic libraries, is that here the children are reading for entertainment, here they are reading for enjoyment, here they are reading out of their own volitional thing, like because they want to read. So along with the library spaces, and I think this becomes a part of library space, is the resources. The books have to be quality, so we have to make sure that we give them the latest book, we give them the books that they want, not books that we read when we were small or the teacher recommended. Okay, that is also there, but also, more graphic novels, more picture books, more pop-up books, more popular books, more books which have been made into movies or made into OTT platforms that they would like to see. So, and more magazines, more visual. They're all primarily visual learners at this point. So, something more graphic novels. So, more books in which difficult themes are represented in different formats, because as you all know, in this world where things are changing rapidly and children are exposed to and yet not addressed in traditional classroom, things like war, things like mental health, things like LGBTQ, uh, so representation in those forms, right from picture books to chapter books, all those are available easily. We do not create any book bans, we do not restrict anybody not to read books, and we encourage open conversation about why the content is like that, why should you feel that is represented there. So things like that. So both the space as well what is available in the space, I think that creates a positive energy and a comfort zone for children wanting to visit it. So every morning at 8 o'clock when I'm opening the library, there is already a group of kids outside, so together with me they kind of, so those are my visible signs that what we are doing in the library is working. So things like all these bulletin boards and all, anything which encourages them to take ownership of the learning, what they want to learn, what they want to read, is all through all those resources. So,
Commendable, pretty commendable initiatives shared by Sushweta ma'am that has been applied in the library of TSU Hyderabad. And now we call for the close of this session, and let's move on to the final session. That will be an open forum where I invite Mr. Yogendra Patidar to please discuss in brief the key design principles like accessibility, visibility, connectivity, flexibility, and adaptability. And please give a close to this space.
So it's again, whenever you work around, I always say it's a sensorial experience. As a human, all our five senses and brain connection is what we need to understand. It's as simple as that. And a lot of time that's, it is being very common, but not been used very easily. So idea is, that's the common sense we really need to apply, that all our sensorial experience, be it eye or be it, so like Shushita ji mentioning about age appropriateness. Okay, if you know age appropriateness, if you don't have give things in reach, there is no fun of it. Okay. Earlier, it has been a while we talked to a lot of librarians that they wanted library shelves to be closed. Okay. And we always said, no, why you need to make them closed? Because this is, there would be dirt, there would be a lot of maintenance on the books. I said, but that also tells user not to use it. So like Dr. Kataria says, everything is come with a don't. Do not do this versus, opening up. So accessibility is one, and a policy that how your space is giving them accessibility. Second is how it is designed for the sensorial experiences which we do. Okay. Third is giving the moment when we say when we come there, our eyes identifying this, so it says movement of eyes, hands, and heart. All these three has to come together. Okay. So if my eyes see something and if I can touch it, okay, I really have an impression in my brain and heart. Okay, and that's led me to use it. So this is what, simple thing which we really need to say. I would say a sensorial experience. Okay, it has to help me all my senses. So we say today we are mentioning about maker spaces. Why maker spaces are very famous now? Why they're popular now? Because it gives you sensorial experience of learning by doing. Okay, earlier we were seeing on a book that our digestive system looks like this. Later on then we go to physical demos. Today you have demonstrations which you can cut, see, you can do cross sections and understand it. Okay, you can have real life project getting into your making spaces. So how really India need to build on the innovation index is through getting whatever happening in real life, taking into the curriculum. or mapping your curriculums towards that real life experiences and using making as a model. So once we do something, it is registering here for lifelong. It is never going to go out of your memories. Okay. So how this sensory experience can be created for accessibility, and all of that.
Perfectly summed up by Yogi sir. And that calls for the close of this open forum. That was the final phase of this session. And I propose a vote of thanks to Sushweta ma'am, Dr. Bijayalaxmi, Dr. Sanjay Kataria, and Yogi sir. Your presence made this session a fabulous one, and the insights shared by you on the school libraries, to how libraries are designed in universities, to how libraries are making an impact in the life of today's learners, were quite fantastic. We are honored to have all of you joining us live today. And for all the audience who are joining us live from different parts of the world, I request you to please post your questions in the comment section of wherever you're watching this session on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. And that calls for the close of this session. And I also request each one of you to please join us for the CIVOM's forthcoming sessions on Thursday, September 5 for celebrating Teachers' Day, and on Tuesday, September 17 for celebrating Vishwakarma Day that falls on September 16. And that was a fantabulous session that we had today, and how libraries can be reimagined and how we can embrace innovation and technology to create vibrant and accessible spaces for all. Thank you so much